Good morning, Mukesh. So today's session will be primarily on forms, and then there were some topics which, if you remember, last time we learned about. We have learned all these 5 topics already: fundamentals, introduction, platform and architecture overview, now platform user interface, branding, lists, and filters. So 5 topics we've learned. So I just want to go through some basic quiz sessions in terms of understanding. Have you understood all those things? Then we'll talk about forms today. And there is one more thing I'll tell you today in terms of. So, for example, when you log into Now Learning ServiceNow.com, right? We talked about it already in the very first class. This is a course which you'll have to do any which ways if you want to opt for certified system administrator exam. And there will be a very, or as I said, my course content is also based on this course because it's a standard course, right? There is one concept, if you see at the end of it, they call it as ServiceNow Fundamental Simulator. Do you see that here, right?
Yeah.
The simulator thing, what happens is it gives you. So if you see this here, right, it gives you an option to request a lab instance. You can request a lab instance. Once you get a lab instance, then what happens is for every single topic we are learning, for example, we've learned these 3 topics already, right? So for every single give you an activity, based on that activity, you have to perform something in system. And once you perform that activity, you have to click on validate, just to ensure that whatever was supposed to be done for that activity, you completed that. So it will tell you the score that, okay, your validation is successful, you have moved forward. So this is where you will be able to do practice along with whatever we are learning in an organized manner. And later on, as I said, you will have to do this course any which ways to complete your CS exam. So it will be an added advantage for you because you are doing this few things here together itself, right? So you don't have to do it again and again later on, right? So if you see these 3 topics you have learned, which means today, when you, after this class, whenever you have time, you can just request a lab instance from here. Once you get the lab instance, then there's an option of go to simulator button. Go to simulator. So it is like when you say simulator button, it is exactly another PDI which is given to you from this particular interface. And it has a expiry period of 30 days, which means once you complete all this course, that instance will be expanded. In this case, this instance, what we're talking about, the PDI, which you've got already, it does not have an expiry date as long as you use it continuously. If you remember, I told you earlier that if you stop using it for 10 days or more, it will automatically get hibernated and you'll have to request another instance, right? So that is how it works for personal development instance. However, a simulator instance is a little different, which means it is given you for a certain time period to complete the simulation exercises, whatever you are learning. So it is an organized session for practices, right? And then if you have a question tomorrow, in the next class, you can always ask me, this activity I was not able to perform based on what we have learned already, right? So we've learned these 3. So as per my understanding, you should be able to finish these 3 activities from this platform. Okay?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay. This is one thing we take care of. Now, second thing which we talked about earlier, if you remember, we talked about, So we have seen this. So what I'll do is, because there's a break in between, we had a weekend. So I just wanted to quickly run through some basic quizzes which are here itself. So every single act, so you see this here, right? One is the overview lesson, based on which we are already studying in the class. We are completing all those concepts, right? This is your overview activity. This is exactly that activity which I was talking about just now. So this activity is mentioned over here across each module, as well as it is mentioned in a consolidated view in the simulator interface. So same thing is here and same thing is here. It is just repeated there, right? So you don't need to worry about this part right now. But what I'm trying to tell you, this is how the course is generally organized. So based on this activity, if you see this, what is written over here, it says that go to fundamental simulator course, go to that path, request an instance, and do this activity. It is exactly the same activity which is here as well as here, right? So you can take it from anywhere, wherever you want to do it. But because we can't do it together in the instance, right? Because it will be quite late if we do that. Now, this is a quick overview knowledge check for the concepts you've learned. So that we can cover in this class, so that we can also see whether you've got something in terms of concepts. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's it.
Questions for knowledge check. So we'll just do the knowledge check questions from here, from branding overview, from listed filters, and then we can immediately switch over to overview in terms of the topic for today. Yeah. So let's take it. Now, this is just not a very big one. So ServiceNow user interface overview knowledge check. This is the topic we've learned here. Now user interface. Now we will see the topic and let's see what do you think. Tell me, we have learned about it already.
Banner. It's banner frame.
Sorry. Okay.
Application navigator, banner frame,
Mhm.
content frame.
Right. So important thing you have to understand also when you give appear for the examination, right? So not most of the questions are actually multi options, multi answers, multi choices. It is one of the four. Sometimes it is sometimes you may have to select more than one answer. This is where it becomes a little tricky, right? You know that selecting one answer is easier than selecting two or three or four answers out of the given.
Yeah.
That is why you just need to be a little careful. So it gives you that practice also for the examination sometimes, right? Tell me. So we are just trying to review the content we have learned quickly. In next 5-10 minutes, we'll finish it quickly, and then we'll.
It's C. Dragging individual record off.
Okay.
And select. Does B fall under this?
Sorry, which one you said? D.
B.
B.
Drag here icon. Drag the breadcrumbs of filter list to yeah, I guess D also.
Let's see. What do you select as the system settings, the new platform user interface? Remember, we talked about person.
Logo.
No, it is not called. Okay, I'll have to tell you. So that box which we talked about, right? For example, if I were to. Okay. So I think user interface. Okay, you're saying logo, right?
Huh.
We select the personal system technology. Let's see. This is the following question. Including the results when entering service in the navigation filter.
Any module with the naming D. D.
Impersonation. How do you impersonate a new user?
You have to go to up right. Yeah. What is it? Profile user menu.
User menu, right?
Yeah. Okay. Navigate back to corresponding list.
Sure. You just reviewed a record you looked at recently. What is one of the quickest ways to navigate back to the same record?
The record from the history tab.
Let's see what happens. You pass, but still the score is not full, right? Which means you need to do it yourself later on. We're just trying to test. There were some questions. This was the right one. There were some questions in terms of. Did you realize which questions you're not confident on?
First and sixth are correct. First one is Paka correct.
First, second, yeah. So in the middle, two, second and third were a little tricky. So just go through it later on, not right now. We don't want to retake this because we'll spend the entire time here itself in that case. So it is just a quick understanding how things look like and how will the exam be, all those things, right? So here also we'll just talk about it quickly. Take again. This is branding. Some of the benefits often recognized by branding, instance.
Accelerate adoption rates. Share comprehensive assignment rules.
Assignment rules. Okay. So I'm
Okay.
what you're telling me, right? I'm not putting my own answers here.
Okay.
Yeah.
To create a shared identity.
Okay. So we have learned it.
So it's system properties.
Second one or fourth one?
It's the D.
Two answers is left, right? You're using guided setup here.
Okay. So A.
Four answers in the following. This is where it becomes more interesting, right? Because multi answers are always difficult. So that is why it requires you to comprehensively understand it. Tell me four. Which one do you think?
Okay. B.
B.
Browser title tab.
Okay. Banner.
That also can be done. And system date and time.
There's one more because four answers there here.
Yeah. Navigator background and text colors.
Good. So you at least you have got certain knowledge. There was one answer which was incorrect. The second one. So otherwise, yeah, most of it is correct. So because when it says percentage, right? So they do not give you, I would say, in mind, they don't deduct the marks for completely getting it. Even if one answer is wrong, I think they kind of say that it is completely wrong. Understand that, right? Which means when you say 67%, it is 2 out of 3 are completely correct. One of them is partially correct, but then they don't count it here. So which means out of 4 options, if you have selected 3 right and 1 wrong, then also it will be considered as incorrect in terms of their calculations. But in terms of understanding, I know that most of the answers you have given were actually correct. 1 or 2 options were here and there, which you have to figure out later on. Because you can do it at your side at once, and then you can see. And then, as I said, right, so we will be studying the content, whatever is given to us in terms of. Now, you might need to study something else, but not immediately. But yeah, when you try to appear for exam, see, most of the things will be completed from this section, this content, whatever we're learning. And I think whatever questions you have seen, you must have seen that we have learned those concepts. It is not that we have not learned this concept, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try this one as well quickly. This is the list and filters. Where is my admission instance? Okay, it's gone here.
I'm not sure about this one, Alok.
Okay, okay. So we'll take it later on. I'll just put something move forward just to see other questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is actually like this. For example, if I go here, this is called as context menu. Okay. So one is from here. Second is from here. You see the same options?
Yeah.
And third is from here. Which means the question is from which all places you can go to the list menus.
Yeah.
Fields, columns. Okay. Now, a filter is a set of conditions applied to a table to be find and work with a subset of data. In the Now platform, filter conditions are also referred to as this is called as breadcrumbs. This is called as breadcrumbs. Which search feature can be used to help narrow down search results in ServiceNow? Context find containers, platform, oil like
Containers.
column in a list. This is a column, right? This is a column. In a list, what is represents what in the ServiceNow instance?
Field.
Which menu can users access? Display actions that involve creating quick reports, configuring lists, and reporting data.
I'm not sure about this.
Column, right? This is column. Anyways, let's see what happens. We're past. So what I'm trying to tell you is this is also giving you some kind of understanding of what all things are there which we have to understand more. Right? It will give you that kind of understanding also. But yes, whatever we have covered, the questions might be a little different, little tougher, because I think they have changed questions now in this version of ServiceNow, latest version of ServiceNow they're working on. Right. So even I have not seen all those questions before. So earlier when I did it, the questions were different. I have to see the questions again myself. But what I'm trying to tell you is this will give you a quick understanding where are we, and then maybe if you have a question, you're not clear about it, we can discuss in the class tomorrow, on the next day. Right? That is how it will give you the confidence. Okay, yeah, I've learned those things, whatever is required. But however, when I talk about the day-to-day activity, you don't need to learn all those things to start a career with. Whatever we have learned here already, that is more than enough. More for the examination, you want to go for a little deeper study in that case. So in that case, you need to do some dumbbells also. You need to do some practice exams also. And that's why I'm also asking you to do the simulator. So simulator, see, whatever is in simulator, we can always do it because we have learned it practically. Now, these are theoretical concepts in terms of, okay, what all things can be there, what all things cannot be there. That might need some sort of studies as well, right? We can focus around it so if you come up with questions, you're not clear about any question, we can discuss it in the next class. Is that okay? It is just that because for first 3 days, we had a gap after that, and that is why I just thought to complete this. Okay. So
Yeah.
I go back to the instance and further topics. Hello.
Hello.
Should I go back to the instance and start further topics?
Yeah, let's start.
Okay. So there are a few things which are left in the list view on that day. The one, if you remember, I was talking about this visual task board. I said we will discover it later. It is little. So when I say visual task board, understand it from the terminology itself. It says visual task board, which means it will be a board where you'll have the tasks listed, and it will give you a visual understanding of that particular board. Right? It will tell you, for example, I've just clicked on create visual task board. So it will show you tasks assigned to an individual user in a particular format, in a column view. Let's see how it works. Can you see this here, right? This is an interesting bit. See this. This is where it gives a very quick understanding to the manager or the person who is working on it. Does that make sense, right? For example, if I just want to do Bud Richmond, it will show me the tasks only for Bud Richmond. See this BR. Okay. Now I'll just clear the filter. I'll show it. Now what can happen is, for example, this is by caller, right? So this is caller and this is assigned to field. So this person is called for the incident and this person is assigned to the ticket. Now, if I think, for example, how will it be helpful in real life? If I think this guy has a lot of tasks, can you see this? He has 6 tasks. I can just put one task from his bucket to his bucket. You can put one sorry, something, yeah. Maybe it is not allowing me to do some kind of, otherwise, there is a mandatory field which is missing, I guess. That is why it is not allowing me to do that. But then I didn't try to put anything else. This one has been assigned to this guy, right? Now.
Yeah.
Okay. Similar task has been assigned to this guy. Maybe in this task also there is a mandatory field which is not filled in. That is why it is not allowing me to do that. But then the idea, so this out of the box configuration, you can always configure it. The idea here is that this is where you can uniformly distribute the tasks to the other people. Okay, that is whole. I have to look at it why it is not working, which policy is not allowing. But generally, out of the box, this is the whole purpose of visual task board. First purpose is that you can group by whoever you want. So in our case, we have actually taken, we have gone to the color field and we have done a group by. So not a group by, we have clicked on show visual task board. That is why we got this particular view, right? Now, if I click on here, these are the people who the tickets are assigned to. So I can always click on the individuals and I can find out, okay, for example, Beth Hanslin. So she has this task here, right? For example, maybe somewhere else also, yeah, she has a task here also. Can you see this, right? So all those filters can also be, so it is a visual, I would say it is a visual kind of thing which works out there. And you can reassign things. Right now it is working because of certain reason. I have to investigate into that, why it is not working. Otherwise, the purpose is that if somebody overloaded, you can change, you can move the task from one to another. That is how it works. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you can filter by here. You can filter by due by date, overdue, 24 hours. So this is also something which you can look at. These are the information generally people don't use. You can put labels to the task, and this is where you can see. This is a, for example, this is a board we just created just now, right? Owned by system 2 minutes ago. This is something which is already there. I don't know if I have access to that board or not, but then let me see. So whatever task boards you have access to, so which means you have created a task board, it can be accessible to other users also if you make it accessible to them. This board has exceeded the card limit, your 100 cards have been trimmed by last period, which means there are a lot of tasks here. But since the limit has been reached, that is why they are showing very, so it is based on the status of the task. It is here. Draft, close, complete, right? You can also set the lane. This is called the lane. You can add one more card here if you want to. But then right now we will not be able to because we have already reached the limit here. This is the purpose of this particular area. Okay. So this is how visual task board looks like. And this is where it helps you to assign unassigned tickets from one user to another user. Now, I think let me try one thing here. Okay. So I'm just removing this filter out portion from here, which means wherever it is empty, assigning, I have, so right now all these tickets are assigned to somebody, right? Let me now do this show visual task board. I think I have got a problem statement here. Let me just see if that works out. Right. Now, for example, if I were to take this from here to here, no, even here there's a problem. Okay, so which means I have to check there's some problem here. Maybe the groups, assignment groups are okay. So here the problem was that assignment group is not same of this individual, right? So, for example, you can distribute tasks only in a particular team, right? You cannot distribute tasks from one team to another. You understand what I mean, right? Because you already have this logic of, for example, if I were to show you this particular incident ticket, you will always have this field called assignment group. And assigned to is a subset of this field. You understand?
Yeah.
That you cannot change assigned to from beyond this group level. Right? You have to assign it to somebody who is a part of the same group. That is the whole idea about it. So generally, because I had administrator right, so that is why I could see everything there together. But then let me just do one thing here quickly. If I do a group by assignment group, I'll just figure out in a smaller subset, right? And I have taken this one, for example, and I have opened this view in separate tab. I just want to see the hardware teams, right? Now it is assigned to. Now, if I create a visual taskboard now, I can now move task from one to, who is this iPhone 2022?
That's me only.
Okay, you want me to admit?
Yes. I'll take it first.
I hope there won't be any echo there.
What happened?
I thought that there would be any echo because of that.
No.
Now see this. Here also this is a problem. Okay, so there is a problem. I think. Yeah, see, I can see the echo. That is why I don't want you to admit from two devices. You have to mute.
No. I'm just keeping the laptop aside. So
yeah, you can just disable the output of the laptop, right? Just switch off this speaker part there, and then it should be okay.
Is this better?
That is better now.
Yeah.
Right. So I think there is some problem in my instance. That is why it is not working. Otherwise, the whole idea of this particular thing is that you can move it from one person to another in the same group. It is not working because of certain reason. I have to check why. Okay, I'll have to check why it's not working. Otherwise, the idea, did you understand the concept of visual taskboard? By the way? Why is it used and how can we use it? Did you understand that concept? Yeah.
Yes.
Let me see. So this is what I clicked on, interactive analysis. Okay. There was a field called launch interactive analysis, and now I can see all these charts being created automatically. Do you see this behavior? And you can do a group. Right now it is group by priority, right? I can do a group by anything. I can do a group by color maybe. See this, everything will change. See this, right? See this, all these three reports will be changed. You can also do a filter here, whatever you want. Priority. If I just want to show you maybe, all three third. So this filter will be applied to all these three graphs. Can you see that? It is getting applied here as well.
Yeah.
Only those filters which are 3 incident priority as 3. This is called as interactive analysis. And this is a very powerful feature of ServiceNow because it can give you that analysis quickly. So rather than doing a group by, sort by, show matching, all that stuff, you can actually launch this particular dashboard and it can give you a lot of features to just use whatever you want to use. And it gives you visual view also, which looks quite good, right? If you see from this perspective. And you can do a lot of filters. You can do a filter on assignment group, you can do a filter on category, priority. So yeah, you can also add filters here if you want to. You can add multiple filters also. Okay. So these were 2 topics which were left on that day for list, and that is why I thought to cover them as well. So did you see from where I went there? I went from here and I clicked on here. Okay. Other features we have already seen, if you remember, on that day. Right. So if there are no questions on the list part, then we can go to the forms view. What is a form? How does it look like? What all things do we have to do for the form? If it is, so these are the options which we had to cover for list view. And as I said, these are 3 menus from which you can do it. So this is one, this is second on the header. And then this is the third one, the same, but then this is a bigger menu. If you see, this will give you more options here. Okay. Now, if I were to go to a form, for example, let me go to a form here. Now, this is list view, which means you can see most of the records together in one single view. This is called as form, where you actually enter the information for the by the users who needs to submit their incidents or requests or whatever. So this is where we actually do that. So this is the main thing which you use to submit any record in ServiceNow or to update any record in ServiceNow. Right? Now, if you remember, we talked about it some time back that there is this concept of related list. So all of these lists are also here. There are some out of the box related lists here, which means the things which are associated to this particular record. So SLA for this record, affected CIs for this record, impacted services for this record, child incidents for this record, alerts for this. So, and you can always configure it. This is a configurable feature, which means you can add more values, more fields here. You can remove something from here. That is one part, right? Now, if I were to, and then you see here, right? You have this related search lists. So which means if I start typing something here, I might find some. Now see this, it is searching for this particular type. Can you see this, right? There was a short description here and I've clicked on related search and it is showing me everything which is related to this particular guy. So which means if I want to use anything, I can reuse this particular article and solve my problem with that help. This is where it is called as related search lists. And this is where you have nodes. And we learned in the last class that this is additional comments and this is work notes. If I change this to work notes, change the heading itself, right? Watch list is primarily for those people who needs to be aware of this particular incident. So you can add people from, so I don't know if you've used Jira because you are into testing, you might have used Jira or some of that sort. There's a concept of add watchers to a particular page. Even in wiki page, you have concept of add watchers. This is the whole purpose of this, that if you want somebody else to be aware of this particular thing, you can add those people from this list. Okay. Even work notes. So if you want somebody to be aware of the work notes, whatever has been put in here, you can always add people from here. These are related records for that particular. Now, in this case, I'm talking about incident only because this is what we have opened. This is what is generally available in out of the box instance. You may have any form. The idea of a form is that it will have a particular layout. It will have some fields. Some of the fields would be mandatory. It will have a section. This is a section of related search results. This is a section of notes, related records, resolution information. In case of problem or change, it might not be the word resolution. It might be a different word. So I'm not talking about incident form per se. I'm just giving you a visualization that this is how any form looks like. So we will talk about this form in detail when we actually talk about incident topic in this class, right? I'm not going to talk about this entire form right now. This idea is to give you, this is how a form looks like. This is section, these are different sections of form. And this is, these are related links. These are called as related links and these are called as related lists and these are called as buttons, right? So UI actions. So when I say UI actions, it means I'm clicking on some button, it's taking some action from me. This is how a form looks like. Now, as a system administrator, you are supposed to configure a form sometimes. You're supposed to create a new form from scratch sometimes. And if you remember, we talked about one more thing, that there is a concept of view. Right now, it is shown as default view. Now, we kind of set up multiple views for different interfaces. For example, a certain kind of user, we don't want to give him a lot of access. We don't want him to fill a lot of fields. In that case, we create a very simple view for him just to submit some necessary information, not priority agency, nothing of that sort. There is a view for mobile if you see, and you can always create a new view also if you want. That is also a possibility, right? These are some out of the box views which are given in this particular form. Now, when I click on views, things will change. The fields in form layout will change. This is called as form layout for a particular view. So, which means you have to understand one thing here. Whatever change you're doing on a particular view. Did you see the form design itself got changed here? After I selected on major incident view, did you see that, right? There is no section also here. There are some more additional fields over here. So similarly,
Yes.
if I go to any other view, let me go to maybe service mobile view. Let's see what happens there. So this is all about exploring, right? I mean, we cannot, even as a part of course, we are not supposed to click on each and every view and look at it. It is more about exploration. Whenever you have time, you think, okay, let me understand this, to understand this. The concept for you to understand is that there is a concept of view wherein you can change the form design, you can change the layout, you can change the fields, you can change the behavior of the form. That is what you have to understand. not that how many views are available for a particular form, because you can always create your own view if you want to, right? However, as I said, ServiceNow generally does not like customization. So try to use whatever is given there already. So try to, so for example, if you were to create a new view, which looks like this to a certain extent, then you better reuse this view rather than creating a new view altogether, unless it is completely different from what is given to you out of the box, right? So that is the concept I'm trying to tell you. This is how the concept of view looks like. So which means sometimes what happens, this is where it helps you to troubleshoot things. That some people kind of log into system, and then by default, by some configuration mistake, they have a different view here, which means they completely see a different form, and then they raise an incident saying that, no, I'm not able to see this field. I'm not able to submit an incident because of this particular thing. Now, that is the first thing you need to see, that you impersonate that user, and you see that if you impersonate that user, which view is he logging? Is he by default looking at? Is he looking at default view? Because if somebody has clicked on here already, then next time he'll log in, he'll by default see this view only. Okay. That is why it is also very important to do troubleshooting. And this is where it will help you as a system administrator. Okay. Is he looking at the same view which we are looking for, to be honest? Yeah. So that is how the idea is. Now, there are areas. So if you see, there are a lot of things here, configuration. And I told you earlier also that because we are system administrator, we have a lot of things here which we can actually configure. Now, these will come a little later in the game because they're quite advanced. Table, security rules, business rules, clients. These are all those scripting things generally, so there are two parts to all these scripts. One is that basic configuration where you just need to select few items and then save it, right? In case of scripts, you might need to write some more script, which is not a part of this particular content, but then I will take you through all these things, but not as a part of form. Though all these things here will be taken up when we talk about platform scripting concept, right? As of today, we are just talking about form design and form layout and related lists. These are three things which we have to worry about as of today. Now, when I say form layout, so, okay, one more thing. So if you see configure related list. So if you remember, we talked about it, that here you have the concept of related list. This is a related list, right? Now, if I want to configure this, I can add. So let me click on this first. This is the easier one. That is why I'm showing it quickly. Can you see all of these things were already there? I want to add one more. I have added one more. And can you see this view name here, right? So we are configuring this view for related list only for this particular view, not for everything else. So there are multiple views, and here you can create a new view also, as I was talking about some time back, right? So if I were to add this save affected locations, can you see this here? Add it up, right? So this is configure a related list, which means whatever menus you want to show up here, it depends on you. There are some out of the box menus which you should keep always. If you want to add more, you can always click on configure related list and you can add. Now, let's understand it further. There is a concept of form design and form layout here. Now, you will tell me that why there are two things to do the same thing. There are reasons behind it, I'll tell you. This form design, which you see, it is an advanced version of form layout. Initially, we had form layout only. Later on, they released this form design because it gives you a visual view of the form itself. That is why they always recommend you to do things from here. However, they still kept form layout in the view because it gives them, if they're not worried about layout much and adding just one field, right, and they know where to add it. And also, when you want to select data from multiple tables, this view gives you a better option. For example, if I click on form layout, right, it is a very, I think I clicked on it, right? Yeah, I clicked on it. So this is available, this is selected, which means so many fields are available. And these are only the selected fields. And you can see there is a split section here, which means the form was split into this after this particular area. And then there is one more split here, right? Which means it is doing the. Now, the good part about this part is, for example, if I were to reference any other table in ServiceNow, for example, assign to. Now, assign to is a field on incident form, but actually it refers to the user data in the backend. Am I making sense here? Right? Because as you are, You have the foundation data. If you remember, we were talking about the guided setup of ITSM. Then we said that foundation data is universal to all the modules. And assigned to will always come from the user data. Assignment group will always come from user data. Caller will always come from user data. Cost by change will always come from change data. So all of these are reference fields, which means that it gives you a quick flexibility. For example, if I click on this, can you see this button coming up here? Now, if I want to use a particular attribute of that user, for example, let me see this. Let me click here. So now what happens is it is showing me that user fields table, not incident fields. That is where this particular view helps you to configure this. For example, if I just want to find out the company of the user and I just want to do it here and I see this, it shows you assigned to dot company. So assigned to is the main field, and under that field we are taking company as an attribute further. That is why this is called as dot walking. If you see this dot here, dot walking means in ServiceNow, dot walking means that if you are doing a nested table thing, for example, you go from one table to another and then from there to another, you can always go that way, as long as it has a relationship between all those three tables. So in this case, as I told you, incident table that the field were assigned to is a reference which is actually referring to user table in the backend. That is, and now you can use any of those particular, for example, active. I was going to use active, right? Now, why do you see company and then there is a plus again? Because there is another table for company. So this is where this particular layout thing helps you, because it can quickly do that for you. Okay. I mean, especially in terms of dot walking. Do you see this here? Company and active, which we just added, right? This is for that user. This is for that assigned to user we're talking about. Now we go back and do the same thing there as well. Now, if I come here, I just move it back, for example. And now if I just want to, this is something which is giving me the incident fields by default. It is giving me incident fields now. Unless I click on here, I click on anywhere else, then only it will tell me about the fields of that particular table. So which means what you have to understand from your side is wherever there is a plus sign, which means it is referencing to another table in ServiceNow, and we can pick up the attributes of that table also in this particular view. That is the whole purpose of it. And if you see what more, this is view name. We said there are multiple views. You can create a new view also here. There are these sections. If you remember, we had the section. There was a node section. There was a related record section. I'm not saving it right now. There was a resolution information section, right? We had all these sections. So you can add this field in any section. For example, if I click on notes, then see what happens. It is showing me only those fields which are in notes section. If I click on related records, it will show me only those fields which are in related record section. So you can always change things from here. You can also create a new field if you want to. However, creating a new field is not something you should do immediately without analyzing that, okay, does this field already exist? So first search for that field in system and then only create a new field. Now, if I were to go back to the incident, this section, and let it populate here, right? Right. Now we are back to the incident fields here. So this is how that dot walking helps you, because it gives you that quick overview of how can you go from one table to another. You can do that even in the form design, but it is little, I would say this is more user friendly from that perspective. If you were to choose field only from that table, this is the best way that you use configure form design, because this is giving you a clear visual interface that how will a form look like. Let us open this. I'm just opening the form design part. Okay. So this is where it is talking. So whatever we are doing it on incident table. This is the table which we are selecting, because we were already on So reason this view is coming up here by default selected because we were on incident form and we were on the default view. That is why these two things have been automatically selected in that particular format, incident and default view. Now, if I were to change the view, I want to change it somewhere else, I can change it somewhere else also. In that case, it will populate that view first for me. Okay, this is how the view looks like, for example, right? Now, if I were to, for example, change the layout, I can do that also here from here. If I were to, for example, I want to put impact, I can select here impact and I can put it from here to here. I can put urgency from here to here. Then priority will be here. So that is how I am changing the particular format of the particular view. Now I go back, I can click on here. When I click on here, it creates a particular section, new section altogether. Do you see that? New section. I can rename this section, whatever I'm saying. I'm saying training major incident, for example. And I can add any field. Now, all the fields which were visible on that field, that particular view of layout are visible here also. Can you see this? The same fields. Now, let me use this word called business duration, for example, here. I have selected this field. Let me select a field called incident state. I have selected this. This is how I can. Now this is giving you visual. So that is why I'm saying that if you were to select the field from the same table, it is always good to do it this way. Okay. Now let me see if I were to, for example, if I were to change anything here on this field, then I have to, if I click on here, it gives me option to move one field from one place to another. Now, if I want to remove this field, I can click on this button. This is how the field will be removed. If I were to configure this field, I can just click on settings. You can see it label priority. I can say priority new, for example. Mandatory read only, something for example, I can say mandatory. I can say read only. It will change things for me accordingly. So it is either a mandatory or read only, because you cannot have a field which is read only as well as mandatory, right? How will the value populate? And here you can see the choices in the drop down. These are the choices given to you automatically. And this is where you can add more choices if you want to. These are the values of that priority field. Okay, so this is where you're configuring a particular field on the form now. You're changing its label, you're changing its default. Maybe you want to say default is critical. I want to always use default as critical, for example. I want to use more choices. I can use drop down with none, no choice type, drop down without none. I mean, none option is not given to me, and I have to select one of these fields always. And the moment you click it, it saves that thing already, right? So let us see this. We have changed it for major incidents view, and just important, remember this. So what I'm trying to say, that you can add any field you want to, it completely depends on you. It is just that you need to understand from where to do it and how to do it. Now I can ask you to add any field, right? You can always go and configure that field. If you want to configure this field, you can configure this field also. Completely up to you. Now let's go back to that instance and see if it has reflected something. Let me try to reload the form. Oh my God, there is no change here. Why? Do you know why there is no change here? There is one that priority new has been renamed. Can you see this? It was priority earlier. And now field. Do you see that? But
Yes.
Why there are no other changes visible? Do you know that? Why do you think that we have made some changes and not everything is visible by default? Why? Because the view selected here is default, and we have done it for which view? Tell me.
We have done it for this.
Major incidents view. If I go and select that view, I can see those changes which I have done. Now let's see one by one. Can you see priority is mandatory now?
Yeah.
Right. You can see this new section, training major incidents. These are the fields we have added there, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
That is how you configure a form. So always see that which view are it. That is, view are very important. Views are very important because if you're changing somewhere else, oh, you might face a problem. Now, if I were to change this and I remove this mandatory thing, right, and I have chosen this, let's see what happens. This saved, right? I'm reloading the form again. Can you see mandatory box has been removed now? Now, priority by default is a read-only field because the priority is dependent on impact and urgency. That will talk more in terms of, for example, if I select one here and I select one here, do you see priority has been changed? It is by default a read-only field. That is why it does not allow you to change that behavior. Okay.
Got it.
This is how you do the form design from this. Now, just imagine a fact that you have to. Now, this is where I said, if you click on here, you can add more sections, new sections. You can rename this section, maybe testing section. I've renamed it. And here you have some, you can have fields, you can have formatters also. You can have, for example, I want to add activities here. Let me add activities. Right. I want to add special hands notes popping up. I can add this as well. So let's see what happens now. I go back. Reload. So either you reload the form or you refresh the browser, whatever you want to do, that's up to you. Can you see the section testing now? Which you just renamed testing section?
Yes.
Right. So it was not earlier, if you remember, it was only trading major incidents earlier, right? We just renamed the section testing. Now, one more thing. See this here, one column, two column. So it gives you options. For example, this one is a one column. This section is one column section. Whereas this column is two fields. Can you see two columns here? In this case, also two columns here. In this case, it is only one column here. Now, for example, if you were to add a new field, which you want to add, for example, cost field. Let's see if there is a cost field. No, there's another word for cost called price. Let's see if it is there. No, we don't find it. Which means then they expect you to create a new field here. Now, what will you do? So before creating a new field, always see if the field type is there already. So for example, if I were to search for the word cost, no, I cannot find it again. So here I was looking in the available fields. What is available? Here I am looking at the field types because every field is a different type, right? For example, price. Oh, I got it. I got it price here. Let me add price here. Now I can rename it. I can do anything. For example, this is the, I want to just use price, cost, whatever. And I want to change this name. And you do you see one thing here? If it is you, which any new field which you add in system uses this prefix called you. Always. This is how you identify that this is a custom field I have added on a form. Okay. So as a part of best practice, they don't expect you to add custom fields unless it is absolutely required. So you should always be looking at if there is any field which I can reuse for my purpose. Or you use any field type which is already there. Rather than adding a custom field, you always see if something can be reused because it becomes difficult to manage so many fields later on during upgrades and maintenance, right? Make it mandatory, for example. Let's see what happens. Done. Save. Do you see this here? Price cost. So automatically this type has come up because I have taken it from field type. I have not taken it from fields. When you say field type, which means you can see so many fields: the calendar date time, choice field, currency field, data structure field, decimal field, due date, duration. These are the field types. So you can create a new field which this field type, which means the value of the fields are, for example, if I select date and time field, then the value of that field will be date and time format. If I select a currency field, the value of the currency format. This is how it works, right? This is how you add a new field in system. This is how you actually work on this whole form designer part. This is how you actually configure a form. So form layout, form designer, there are two views to configure a form. Recommended way is always form designer because it gives you visual appeal. However, if you want to do a lot of dot walking, then you use the list layout view. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is all clear to you now? So
Yes.
today you have to, when you do the practice, we talked about the practice already, that in the practice section, you can do the practice for on simulator instance for these three things, which we talked about already. Now the fourth one. So these four things you can do. I'm not saying you have to do everything together today itself. You can do it whenever you want. But then the reason I'm telling you, because it will stay afresh in your mind, and the questions we can discuss immediately in the next class if you have any. Right? This is where it will help you as long as you are able to find time. Okay. So I'm just stopping the recording right now for now.